Clyde
it was
Sims.
yeah, didn't Stoichkov break some college kid's legs
Oh
on a
God,
preseason game?
yes.
That
Yeah,
the college kid he ended up suing him.
it was I didn't know about that, but it was a very like Pete Rose at the All-Star game kind of moment.
Whoa.
Yeah, so this college kid ended up suing him, saying that he was trying to collect damages because he could have gone pro, and he was trying to collect damages like what would have been his pro contract and whatnot. I don't know if he won. I don't think he won, but yeah, it was that serious back then.
Dude, it's well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, that it was a lot of pride. Like these guys did not want to get clowned by these DPs. So like most of them would come and get their ass handed to them.
Well, the Fire got their DP. Well, this is before DPs. The Fire got their signings right in their first season. I mean, so right. That's the thing that's crazy as a Fire fan. We got the signings so right. We won it all. The double. And it's been just misery since 2001. No,
because 03 was the Supporter Shield win, right?
Right. So,
yeah, that was the one. That was the year that they went to the finals too, and they lost to Landon Donovan, San Jose team.
Yeah, but since the implementation of the DP signing, I mean, Chicago's one of the few teams that just has not really gotten it right. What makes a successful DP signing? Why was Schweinsteiger a miss and Zlatan Ibrahimovic a hit?
That example, see, that's the problem. It's a different story for everybody. Most of the time, I feel like what happens is like the timing. Like Frank Lampard came halfway through a season because remember Manchester City wanted him for a little while, and then all the NYCFC fans were like, "This guy's the worst. He's horrible. He's
similar to Schweinsteiger. He just didn't have his legs.
Yeah, he just had but he had a big year the next year. Schweinsteiger suffered from a man that, like, anytime I hear the name Valko Paunovic, all I can picture is him sitting in his locker. The guys are out in the locker room. He's in his office, and he's just trading shots of Rumpelmans with like a living bear. With an actual bear. Mm-hmm. That's all I can picture when I think that man is.
You don't picture the guy saying, you're eating soup while your wife is getting fucked by some rando.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, that one line, literally changes everything I thought about Valko Paunovic.
He told the team, I think who said this? Was it Alan Gordon that he mentioned that he's like, yeah, we were in the locker room. And then Voko, I think we were losing, and Voko comes in saying, "Hey, you guys are eating soup while they're fucking your wife."
That's great. That's a great fucking line.
So you brought up Alan Gordon. Man, it's a very dangerous game to play, but it makes you wonder and think. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I tend to have a little bit more leeway for a guy who uses a slur in the sense of like, let's be honest, in a locker room situation all the way up until about 10 years ago, it was still cool to throw on the F slur and to like, oh, you're gay when you're bad. You know what I'm saying? So how can you imagine like living in that world for like 20 years and then like you're out on the field? I have a little bit more sympathy for that than say your racial abuses, but still, man, it's hard. It's hard to know who to really root for. Like look at, we talked it to death, but I think like Greg Berhalter is a perfect example of he made a massive mistake that usually would cancel someone.
Yep.
But every action since has proven him to be a different person. So he's not the guy who beats his wife. He's a guy who had a bad situation and has grown and moved on from it.
And I think a lot of it too is, in Greg Berhalter's situation, he knew he messed up when that happened. He actually went to go seek out help.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was obvious that
he went to go get help before anybody told him to get help. So it wasn't like, oh, you're caught, now you're going to go get help. No, he actually went, I think he went to therapy.
He went to therapy. He asked her back, he wanted her back. She said no for a while. You know what I mean? She was like, no, I need time. He gave her time. They're together. And unless she lives in a constant fear the rest of her life, it really seems like that was just an incident and not the person. So it's hard to know when these things happen. Like I just started this conversation out, this podcast out complaining about Kai Wagner and just being like, no, forget that guy. But it's weird. When is it time to forgive and when is it time to be like,
how do people go about making amends? And the other thing is, when they go about making amends, are they being
sincere?
It's like the sincerity and being not only just honest with us, so to speak, but honest with themselves.
And you have to be patient when you make a mistake like that. You have to be patient to allow people to be like, okay, well, yeah, I've seen enough. Like, it's like if you cheat on a significant other, they need to like look at your phone for like a year or two before they start being fully trusting you if they're even
if they ever can get to trust you again.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, I think we just live in such a society where people double down so hard because they never want to admit a mistake that you just then become that's who you are. And it sucks, man. It's wild to see. Go ahead.
I was gonna say this. So are we recording, by the way?
Yeah, we are recording.
Okay.
I was gonna ask that earlier and I didn't want to sound
I clicked the record, like you guys kept going, so I just clicked I stopped recording and just kept recording because you guys had some good stuff going.
So put it like this. So I do believe that Kai Wagner should have finished out his, punishment, his, 2-3 game ban, on top of him finishing, sensitivity training or whatever, MLS protocol he had to do. Surprised they didn't include community service in there.
Well, what do you do to Katai?
I would have just said, finish your punishment and then that's it. Just bring him back in the fold. You made a mistake.
It was Katai's wife. What do you? Yeah.
Oh wait, what's Katai?
Remember
Katai?
Are we
talking about Kai Wagner?
Remember Katai and Katai's wife? I mean, like, what's the difference if they're both, what's going on there? Like, why is one guy get chased out of the league and the other guy, he gets a chance to make amends?
Well, I think the big issue, which is wrong, but it's the truth, is Kai Wagner's better. So
the Ray Rice situation.
But also, I think if you're going to split hairs, which is not fun to do, because let's be honest, all this stuff all the isms is effing stupid, and we can go into why, but we're not going to right now. But so I think the issue becomes like, in theory, Kai Wagner isn't out there. Okay, let's put it this way. Kai Wagner used a slur against a person. That was a singular incident that we know about.
Katai's wife used a slur in a tweet.
Katai's wife tweeted out something that was very indicative of who they are as people. I think that's where it was very
that can
obvious.
be debated, because how can we know that Kai Wagner's not that as a person if that's in his lexicon?
Well, did Katai stood by his wife's comments too? Like he didn't. Did he even apologize?
Maybe that went into it too.
Yeah. He didn't say like, "Oh, I apologize on behalf of my wife's." Like, I don't even think that. I don't recall like reading that he apologized or anything like that.
No, and then it sucks too. You get those stories later, like CJ Sapong's like, he wouldn't even pass the ball to me. He wouldn't even look at me. Like, is this? I don't know, man. It just sucks.
It sucks. But then also, so kind of like, going in that same thing, but it's like we talk about forgiving, whatever. Like, take it from a different aspect. Think about it like in baseball. In baseball, when those guys are taking those performance enhancers, they get wait
a second.
100 game ban.
I got to correct the record. Katai said in an Instagram post after this. This is what Katai said in his own Instagram post, that his wife's posts were a mistake for which he took responsibility, and he apologized for the pain these posts have caused the LA Galaxy family and all allies in the fight against racism. Katai's words, not mine. Continues, Katai said, "I strongly condemn white supremacy, racism, and violence towards people of color. Black lives matter." Katai's words. So, and he gets chased out of the league. But I think it's also at a time where the witch hunt was stronger, where now, if this happened, Katai might be offered a similar situation that Kai Wagner is.
Like Toke said, Kai Wagner's a better player. I think Katai was more or less of a fringe player on LA Galaxy. And rather than deal with that, LA just decided to cut ties with him. You know, you're not going to see Philly cut ties with Kai Wagner for one incident after he did everything that the league required him to. And I'm pretty sure, he did his apologies. He probably apologized personally to Bobby Wood. And that's great and that's fine. But going back to Kai Wagner or continuing on to with Kai Wagner, you want to have him finish the punishment because it makes the league look weaker in terms of handing out punishment for situations like that.
You can't have zero tolerance, quote unquote, and be like, "Oh, he served one game." It's fine.
It's like in baseball. It's like James, baseball. Fernando Tatis Jr. Freaking guy gets caught with performance enhancers. He gets like 100-game ban or season-long ban. There's no coming back to it. There's no like I'm gonna go fight it. Nope. You're gonna take your ban and that's it.
Take your bat, your ball, and go home. We'll see you next season.
And
we're gonna drug test you all the time.
Right. Well, and that's what should be done. Now that's even different because I do believe.
How do you drug test for racism though?
Right. Well, that's what I was gonna get. That was what I was gonna get at. I don't want to sound any kind of way, but I'll want to put it this way: like everybody should be allowed to like live their lives as long as they're not bothering other people, which means like you can deal with cheating. You can cheating is like jail. You cheat, you get your suspension, then you're done, then it's cool. All right, you've served your time, But like when you get down to a racism issue, then you're literally talking about so many other things that actually play into it, just like Katai, let's put it this way, just like how the Chicago Fire didn't make the playoffs, how many times because Katai didn't pass to CJ? You know what I mean? Like you're talking crazy like implications and things about how people feel. Yeah. And I think like it's just like so I kind of have like the Chicago area side of the family and I've got like a hillbilly side of the family. And most of the hillbilly side of the family is pretty cool. Like I was married to a Jamaican woman for quite a number of years. But there's one or two of them that's not, but they still got along with her because in their mind it's like, "Oh, you're one of quote unquote the good ones." It's like, "No, you missed the point. It's just the only person you gave it enough to like get to know." If you got to know people, you would understand who they are.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
The nail on the head. Yep.
And so it's just like just be open to people. And so I will wrap this up by saying, at least my part of this, by saying the thing with Katai is, and even Wagner, I think it's very important. It's not the only thing, but I think it would be very important to go to the rest of the team. And it's like, are you comfortable playing with this guy? And depending on how the team answered, like again, we only have CJ's story, but like how many other players feel that same way?
Right.
Like did they ask the player?
Right.
David Akam was on that team too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and so
right.
Did LA ask all their guys and like Chicharito or I forget who he was on the team?
Yeah. Did they get a vibe? Guy. Yeah. And the vibe's like, yeah, let's get this guy out of here.
Yeah. So
if you're a locker room cancer or something like that, or you already have a dubious reputation in the locker room, and everybody else in the locker room is cool with each other, you're right. Maybe you got to get rid of the guy that's the cancer. All
right. Speaking of dubious reasons, we're going to head to commercial break. Thanks for hanging out on Enemies of the Fire. When we come back, we're actually going to answer that question. What makes a successful DP signing? We're going to talk about heights. We're going to talk about Shaqiri and a couple of Chicago Fire tactics along the way. Closing up shops here soon. Thanks for hanging out on Enemies of the Fire.